Okay, well, welcome. Welcome to Ventana Wildlife Society's The Condor Chat, held on the last Thursday of the month. I know some of you are new to our chat, so welcome, and I do hope you keep coming back. Like I said, they're the last Thursday of the month, with the exception of November and December. Due to the holidays, we bump it up a week. But this is a great place to hear directly from the Condor crew, uh, hearing firsthand what's going on in the field, how the condors are doing, and to get your regular update from the folks directly from the field. That's what the Condor Chat's all about. So I'm going to speak a little bit later on in the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to Joe Burnett. So welcome.
Welcome everyone. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, we got a full agenda today. As Kelly mentioned, it's our 5 year anniversary of the Dolan Fire. Obviously that was a devastating event. And we figured we would obviously give some early updates, maybe talk about let me unspotlight Kelly, spotlight for everyone. Okay. I think Kelly just unspotlighted himself. Oops, sorry. Yeah, here's a general agenda. We're gonna give our regular monthly update on the front end of the chat, and that's going to cover the population, what's the status of the rookie transfer, which is pretty exciting. We have some rookies showing up here pretty soon, the next batch of release birds. Some exciting updates on nesting, and then we'll get into the Dolan Fire anniversary. Meredith has put together some amazing videos for us to recap that time and kind of show where we were and where we've come. Pretty incredible journey. And then Kelly's going to wrap it up with the status of the Save the Condor Fund. That was in the last chat. Some folks had asked about how that was going, so Kelly's going to give us an update on that. And then, of course, we'll have our Q&A in the Q&A at the end with Mike. And yeah, without further ado, I'll get rolling here. This is a more extended video of kind of some of the stuff we're covering today. Mara set up a camera and I started talking basically, and she added some really good video. But I tried to recount the story of what's happened over the last 5 years and kind of some of the more behind the scene details of what was happening when the fire was actually going on. And obviously, it was a roller coaster ride, as everyone remembers that was following it back then. But yeah, we hope it gives folks a little more of an insight to what we were all going through. And again, there's some interesting outtakes at the end. This is not a professional interview. I did my best job at it, but it's not, if you're not used to getting in front of a camera and talking, it's pretty weird. But yeah, Meredith was great at getting me to start talking. So again, big shout out to Meredith. And the link to the film is on our homepage. And folks that have our YouTube link to the Ventana Wildlife Society YouTube page, you can find it on there. But yeah, we have some of the clips tonight we're going to share from this actual thing. So some little teasers. But anyway, check it out when you can. It's a little longer, 17 minutes, but I think it's worth it. Condor Crew, shot on the right. It's pretty cool. We had some volunteers come up and join us at the Condor Sanctuary this last month. Pretty awesome. I'll talk about that more in the next slide. But again, today here we have myself. We got Mike Stake here, an online program manager. He has Derek Whitmer that helps him with the non-lit outreach. And of course, our Condor biologist. We have Darren Gross here today. Wave to everybody, Darren. And Kara Fadden and Dene Mouton can't make it. They'll hopefully be back next month, but they provided a lot of the content we're sharing with you today. So big shout out to them. Our new Condor interns are arriving September 8th. Pretty excited about that. That's right around the corner. And they will be helping us get out the next batch of release birds. And we have a CSUMB student researcher, Caitlin Tunick, who's been doing awesome and helping us out on all levels, which has been great. And of course, we have the great Tim Huntington helping us with our database design, volunteering, and just taking his amazing condor photos. And without further ado, veterinarian Amy Wells, who goes above and beyond for us whenever something happens, she drops everything to help us. And we have a special guest here today, Evan McWreath, um, back with us. Evan was biologist with us started back in 2020, right? Actually, right before the Dolan Fire. Um, you started during COVID, which was pretty wild. And yeah, now you've kind of taken on a part-time kind of GIS support. Everyone loves Evan's maps. He's the one who makes all of our incredible maps, and he's just an incredible guy, incredible biologist. We've all learned a lot from him. And again, he's got a big heart, and we needed that back in the Dolan Fire. So we had to get Evan back here for that because he really stepped up like a lot of people did, just above and beyond. So thanks for being here, Evan. Yeah, so the volunteer crew came up half, was it half of them? Darren, we had, yeah, I think that we didn't have the whole, but it was great to get because they go and track the coast of Big Sur a lot for us, so it was really nice to get them up the treat up to the actual release site, and I think they had a pretty darn good time. I just saw a lot of big eyes just when they saw so many condors and a lot of smiles, and yeah, it was just a treat for us to bring them in behind the scenes and show them where we release the birds and show them the Big Sur site, obviously, which they got to see a lot of the results of the rebuild, and they were all really just really grateful, and we were just really grateful to have them up there. So big shout out to the volunteers. It was nice to give back a little bit and show them a little bit of the inside baseball of condors. Um, and on the rebuild front, things are looking like a real cabin in there. We got kitchen cabinets, we got a sink, we got a almost finished walls. We're in the final step. We're still waiting to hear back from the county to schedule our final inspection, but I think it's just personally for me, it's just going to be a walkthrough, hopefully, and we've really buttoned up everything they've asked for. So we are very excited, and it's everything's just really come together. And again, big thanks to everyone that's helped us with the rebuild. Kelly emphasizes it so much too, and it really did take a village, and we're just so stoked to see it all come to fruition. It's like a dream, really, for me. Back, we're gonna watch these videos today, back when everything we lost, everything burned down. It's hard to put my brain here right now because it was so much work. But yeah, everybody chipped in, and it just goes to show you get knocked down, you just get back up. And the pen cam is live. We added this cam last month, and we onboarded some camera operators that are specialists with explore.org, and they have been doing an incredible job. I just wanted to really give them a shout out. Not only are they moving the cameras around, I used to leave because we didn't have anybody operating the cam. I would leave it on a tour. So what they do is go in and actually custom move it and really get in close with the bird so we can identify and see some of the tags. They can stay on a bird until it turns and we read the tag. And or if they see a bird they're concerned with, they let us know. So it's been this really incredible kind of project the last couple weeks. And a couple of our tracking volunteers have now jumped onto the Explore Cam Op crew, Priscilla and Mary, and we're really excited about that. So it's been really, really, really cool. We've been wanting to get the pen cam going for a while. We're waiting to get some of the stuff done on the pen, and it's really going to be valuable, especially when we have to recatch some of these birds, trap some of these birds for new tags, or we got a bird we're concerned about. It's going to be a really incredible tool. And Kelly was pointed out earlier today, it's like how important these Explore cams were during the Dolan Fire is just you can't even describe. It gave us all an insight, a ringside seat to something that was just so unbelievable. Just seeing the flames come in. I mean, it was terrifying, but it was also a peace of mind to have that view into that. So big, big shout out to explore.org. The cams have just been so valuable. I can't even tell you. And I think I speak for the crew on that. They've been really, really helpful. So yeah, we've added the pin cam, and looking down the road, we're really excited. We're going to try to get a Nest cam inside a Nest this year. Fingers crossed everything goes well. It looks like it's going to be a bumper nest year, so we're hoping to get that inside view that everybody watched with Iniko. That was the last time we had a cam inside the nest, and it was unbelievable. So we're all anxious to get that going again. I'm going to get some help from Pinnacles National Park, some of their climbers. So we're going to try to make that happen again. So keep your fingers crossed. Really, it's up to the pairs. They've got to lay the eggs and do all the work. So we just got to hopefully pick the right nest, and they choose it, and the magic happens. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that as we get closer to the next nest season. All right, population update. Things are going great. We had no change since the last update, still at 105 birds. Um, this is with an asterisk. We mentioned it last month, but we had a bird 1027, a Pinnacles release bird, that she has now become a resident down in Southern California, and she has basically been kind of become part of that population. So our flock was 106, but it's technically 100 and now 105 because she's moved on, and Southern California flock grew by one. But yeah, everyone knows, follows the chat, and looking at Evan's maps, we noticed her going down and not, she would go down on these long trips, stay for a few weeks, finally come back, and then she'd go down again and stay for a few months and then come back. And now she pretty much just stays down there, and she's doing some pretty incredible movements down there. So yeah, that number is 105. We still have our 5 pre-fledged nestlings. We're going to get Darren's going to give us an update on all the nests later. Condor deaths, we're at 6. We've had no deaths since the last update, thank God. And then missing birds. We have 5, but I highlighted 3 that will actually become, when they do get, if they never, obviously if a bird's missing for a year, then we declare them dead. If those 3 highlighted in dark gray there, 236, 729, 800, they'll actually be counted as 2024 deaths. That's when they actually went missing. So that's kind of a retroactive thing. And 1011 and 1079 would actually get added to this year's total. So just a way to think about it. It gets kind of confusing, but it's the only way we can kind of track the mortality, annual mortality. So
Hey,
hopefully
Joe,
that makes.
uh, one of the guests asked a really important question because we don't usually see predation. It's not typical. Can you just maybe go into a little bit more detail about those 2 birds?
Oh, the predation, and Darren can jump in too, but these were 2 release birds. They hadn't been out that long. They were really inexperienced, and it was really unfortunate. And it is something with, when we release birds, we try to prep them as much as we can, but sometimes these young birds pick bad spots to be in, and they had it was a bobcat, right? It was confirmed a
Yeah,
bobcat. Yeah, it
I think
was
so.
a bobcat that had figured out how to predate these young birds on the ground. Um, and we don't know exactly when it happened. It might have been right at sunset, but it was a case of it's not very common. And it's usually, if it's not a young release bird, it might be a bird that just fledged out of the nest. They're very vulnerable that first time they go out, and they're trying to get their wings under them. That it's literally only a few days, but if there's a predator around that's pretty savvy, they can do some damage. So these 2 were claimed by that one bobcat, they believe. So it was really rare. We haven't had this happen. I don't know. No, this might have been the first time for us. At other release sites, it's happened. But yeah, it was definitely unusual. So Pinnacles has made some changes. I know that they're going to adjust some things so they can try to make sure that they can avoid that. But yeah, it was unfortunate. It was just just one of those things. We try to control as much as we can, but when they're released, they're out in the wild, and it's hard to get to them. Um, to try to help them. So yeah, it was unfortunate. Good question though. Yeah, and this year we got a lot of necropsies pending, but the 2 so far, 1099 and 970, were lead poisoning, and we suspect the others are probably going to be lead poisoning as well. All right, Darren, you want to tackle the rookies?
Sure. Yeah. So we have our stud books for the birds that we're going to get from Los Angeles Zoo. to release this fall at San Simeon. So I'll just kind of run through the seven that we're planning to get. So yeah, it's Condors 1265, who is female, 1289, also female, 1290 male, 1300 female, 1302 female, 1307, 1312 also female. So they're something we're really happy about is that most of these birds are female. We love releasing more females into the flock. So we're really stoked to get these birds on September 16th, coming up soon. Yeah, Danae, Kara, and our two new interns who will start shortly will be going down to LA Zoo to pick those birds up and bring them up to San Simeon, and they'll start their journey in the pen from there for about a month, and then we'll release them later in the fall. And Pinnacles National Park, they also already got their pre-release birds from Oregon Zoo, so they're six pre-release birds are already in their pen, and those are Condors 1257, who's female, 1261 female, 1262 and 1276, who are both male, and then also 1294 and 1296, also males. So yeah, we'll be releasing these 13 birds into the population this fall. They'll become a part of the free flying population, and that'll be 13 more birds for our Central California population, which will be huge. We're stoked for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love this time of year.
Hmm. Yeah, and then continuing on into our nesting for this year, it's still pretty similar to last month's update. We still have five chicks that we're monitoring between nests we have here on the coast, and then two nests over at Pinnacles. So yeah, all chicks still in nests, but yeah, they're all doing well, and we're all expecting them to fledge on schedule. So again, we have 1371, who is 219 and 538's chick. 1381, who is the chick that 168 is now caring for on his own after his mate 970 passed away in March. 1372 is 574 and 1006's chick. And then there's 1373, who is 931 and 868's chick, and 1358, who is 569 and 589's chick. And those last two chicks, 1373 and 1358, their parents have been nesting in consecutive years. So this is typically we see condors nest every other year, but 931 and 868 and 569 and 589 have been nesting in consecutive years. So they're doing their part to to bring the population back. But yeah, really just stoked that these chicks are still doing well, still growing bigger each day. Every time we go check on these chicks, it's like, wow, how did they get this big so quick? But yeah, they're all doing well, all set to fledge on schedule. And yeah, Danae got these awesome photos yesterday of 1371, who again is 219 Puff and 538 Miracles chick. And yeah, we think Danae was saying this chick might even fledge a little earlier than what we expect, which isn't abnormal. That happens a lot, especially where chicks that are kind of in a nest like this, where they have a lot of ground they can kind of cover on their own outside of the cavity. They're able to move around a lot, have a lot of freedom right there outside the nest. They seem to develop and get ready to leave the nest a little quicker than what we typically see. So yeah, we're hoping to get to this nest more frequently now that it seems that fledge is going to come up soon. So yeah, hopefully we can catch that moment and see them when they fledge or shortly thereafter.
Yeah, if we panned out from this view, it's a giant rock playground for this chick to develop. So it's pretty perfect. Nature designed it well. They picked a good spot.
Hmm. Yeah, and then 1381, this is 168's chick that he's still caring for on his own, still holding things down on his own there. Haven't seen this chick yet still, as you can see in the photo, the nest tree is very well covered where we think the cavity is. Whenever we've seen 168 land in the tree and then just disappear into a cavity a number of times now, but have yet to see the chick. But it's we know it's getting bigger and that it's doing all right based on 168's behavior of continually going back to the tree. It's pretty clear he's still caring for this chick and doing a really good job. So when this chick is big enough, it'll start exploring outside of the cavity, and so we're also checking on this nest very regularly to try to catch our first visual of this chick 1381, which yeah, hopefully we'll see soon.
Yep, he's super dad, that's for sure.
Hmm.
He is fully stepping up. But yeah, gotta love big boy. Yeah, for folks who don't know, his name is I think I talked about it a little bit last chat, but his name is a cool origin story. He was named by the folks at LA Zoo. He was raised actually cross-fostered by an Andean pair of Andean condors, or in the early days. Obviously, his low number. He is our oldest bird in our flock, and he was cross-fostered with Andean condors who were slightly bigger than Cal, not much, but they're a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger wingspan. And while they were rearing him, they didn't actually mean to do it, but when they were feeding him or in some beak exchange, they broke his beak. And they had to bring in LA Zoo works with some special effects Hollywood guys to make a mold for Beak Boy's little chick beak, and they were able to keep the mold on there long enough for that beak to heal. But if you ever look at his profile in the wild, if you look at it from the side, there's a little notch in his profile, and it's really distinctive for us biologists and for folks that are familiar with Beak Boy. And if you watch the cams, you don't have to see his tag. You just see that little, like, like when you see a hockey player with a broken nose, it's kind of like, it's that same kind of thing. Like he's, looks like the boxer or something. But, yeah, that's that name. That name is so perfect, and it's still to this day. But he's functioned normally. It was a little ding for sure. They didn't know if he was going to be able to heal from it, but just again, LA Zoo just really going up above and beyond to help these birds, and they were able to get his beak fixed, and now look where he's at. He's up here being a super dad. So pretty amazing. All these birds, God, the individual stories are just endless. We talk about it all the time. These individual stories are incredible. From Iniko to Beak Boy to Redwood Queen to to Traveler to Shadow. Just each bird has its own journey. And it's really always awesome to share those with everybody. And that brings us to the Dolan Fire 5-year anniversary. I think I found this photo digging through. We were kind of going through the archive from back then, and I saw this photo from a trail cam on this up near the Condor Pen, and we found this. God, we thought this cam was burnt, and luckily the little SD card inside the trail camera was okay, and we pull it out, and it shows the fire ripping through. In August, which the fateful day there. And yeah, I think it really captures the moment of kind of what was happening up there in the midst of that fire. But yeah, I think I'm thinking maybe I'll play. I think Iniko, I think captured everybody's hearts and minds and everything. I think she was kind of an inspiration to everybody, including us, obviously. But she really symbolized the whole, this whole rebuild recovery thing, and just the resilience. I mean, you can go down the list, and I think her whole story. I'm gonna play a video that to kind of bring us full circle here, and then we're gonna get Evan chiming in here about that, about our whole journey with Iniko and Darren. We were all there for it, and I think we'll let this video play, and then we'll talk about it. But it's a few minutes long. I think it's actually 5 or 6 minutes long. So we didn't want to shorten it too much because it really just captures all. I think everyone that was there will remember. It's so many great images from the Nest Cam and whatnot. So I'm going to pull that up while we're waiting here. And I think everyone's going to really enjoy it. And again, Meredith just outdoes herself with these videos, puts her heart and soul into them. So thank you, Meredith. Here we go.
There's the nest that direction.
All right. It was incredible. Wow. Great job, in Meredith. Whew. Yeah, that definitely brings back some memories, would you say, Darren, Evan?
Yeah, yeah, I've
Wild to see.
captured.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I captured it at all of those events uh pretty meaningfully. I feel like, each each moment in that video was like really kind of what we all felt watching that was also what we felt in the moment. Yeah, that was really special being able to see, yeah, just kind of see it in that form. Just brought a lot back.
Hey, Evan, how long did you have Iniko on your back?
Yeah, I guess that was a couple mile hike in and out of really steep terrain, and it was a team effort too. It was kind of cool. You saw in the videos, everybody was like helping stabilize the box. We were really trying to keep Iniko stable and not moving around, but there were trees that were falling down that we had to climb over and like cliff edges we were scaling across and everything. So um, yeah, just really yeah,
You
crazy
know,
we were able to get her out of there.
Evan, I was laughing. I don't know if you noticed your hiking poles in that picture. One was a piece of PVC pipe, and the other was like a stick we found on the way up.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
because
we
like
were
once we got there, we're like, oh, that would have been good to bring some hiking poles. So I guess we gotta adapt here, which is kind of our MO, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of gear we had to like take up there that day to do a recovery and trying to get a bird off a ground, especially in that kind of terrain. It was yeah, we got lucky in some instances. I think there were a couple tree cavities that Iniko got stuck in between that we were able to corral her into, but without
Yeah, I
those, it would
think
have been
that
a
was
tough grab.
that was the diciest was God, and just hoping that she would put herself in a spot because I remember I came in you can see in the one side, I'm on the one side, and I remember you were at the bottom. We were trying to prevent me and you were trying to prevent her from going further down the canyon, which would have been a nightmare, you know. And then Darren was up above and had a perfect window in. Yeah, and Darren, I remember you said, yeah, it was actually, I don't know, maybe you can describe it.
Yeah, I mean it was it was a tense moment like right before we actually got her in hand and everything because like you just described it, we were trying to really keep her in this one spot where we could get her and have her not move outside of that. But yeah, once I was in there and thankfully I had all you guys like kind of blocking other areas, other avenues for Nico to move around, like with her being in that one spot, it was much calmer to place, like put a net over her, get her in hand, like much calmer than I expected it to be. But yeah, I mean, really all things considered, I mean, it was with the group effort we had, it was a really smooth process. Like we were able to get her out, like get her in hand, get her out. I think without too much trouble. Of course, I'm not the one that carried her on my back, so I don't know if I can speak for all of us on that. But yeah, overall, I think it was like yeah, it went really well. Just glad we could get her out there and get her to LA Zoo.
Yeah, and then we had a 6-hour drive down to LA Zoo, and then not knowing really how bad her injury was. I think that was the
Mhm.
part that was really spooking us, because even a leg injury, real severe one. I think we all knew it wasn't a severe leg injury. I mean, that would have been real obvious, but you still just don't know. And, and especially with birds, any minor injury can actually prevent them ever from flying sometimes. So, especially any injury to the wing is really sensitive. So, that part of it was a little unnerving. And yeah, to
Mhm.
get her down there at LA and get the reports, from the vets that all looked well, that, she came clear on the radiographs, no broken bones. And they said this is a classic limp from like a bone bruise or a muscle bruise and that she would heal from it. And, yeah, and they were so great. Like I remember Mike and Chandra and them, they would just send us little pics of just how Iniko was, because we were like the worried parents of, wondering how she was doing. And they would give us little updates like she was integrating well with the other birds. And it's like she was in kindergarten getting introduced to the other kids in class. And I remember we'd all be like, oh, that's great. And yeah, just watching all that stuff and I mean, yeah, from us just grabbing her out of that tree to the rest of the partners chipping in and helping out. And God, you can't say it enough. It takes everyone, to make stuff like this happen. And we felt like we were threading a needle because Anika had already been through so much. I mean, she'd survived the fire, which was a miracle in itself. I mean, I think I'll never forget that first look we got of her when we crested that ridge, and it looked so bleak. I mean, it was like, there's no way she made it, man. We were just kind of doing the routine of like, yeah, she didn't make it. And we looked up and saw her little head poke out. I remember that
Yeah,
was so awesome.
I remember we got a call from someone on the radio that went in to do the check, and we were all like so excited. We really needed to hear that good news because fortunately there were some chicks that didn't make it, and I think at that point we would have done anything to make
Exactly.
sure Nico made it through.
But you're right, man. That was the boost we needed. I really felt, yeah, especially when we started figuring out how many birds had died. It ended up being a total of, including the two nestlings that we lost, 12 birds, which was just devastating. When we had just reached 100, the month before, and And then you have the rug pulled out from under you, and some of those birds were just legendary birds, including 167 kingpin, I mean, how do it's for us that have worked with that bird, you couldn't put it into words what that loss meant to the flock. I mean, it was just, not alone Nico, but just his leadership as a bird, it's just that one hit hard for sure. But yeah, and then yeah, just I mean, just the full circle of Iniko, I think really lifted everybody's spirits, and I think that's what kind of kicked us in the butt a little bit, of like we got something that we got to get her back out there, get her with that next release group. And I think that, she kind of carried the torch in a weird way, you know what I mean? But
Hey, Joe, I hope you don't mind. I just want to jump in real quick because we were talking earlier today about the video that you and Meredith made, the one that you narrated. We hadn't shown that one today, but I put a link in the chat. And we were talking about how there's that one moment was really emotional where you are on one of these chats right after the fire and how difficult it was for you even to get your words out.
mhm. Yeah, it was rough. It was a
Maybe,
tough go.
maybe share just a little bit more about what that was like.
Yeah, I think, you compartmentalize stuff like that. I think when stuff like that happens, I think the whole crew, we did it. We were like, we got to keep pushing ahead. And you never really have time to kind of process what happened, and I think that Condor chat, it came down on me like a ton of bricks, and it was Stephanie Herrera who was on our crew at that time. Big shout out to Stephanie. She was part of that. She was actually filming all that nest clips and all of us doing that stuff. And she was taking these just incredible photos. And she took this photo. I found this photo she took of a little baby fern coming up out of the ashes.
Mhm.
And God, it just hit me like a ton of bricks and it just brought it all out. And yeah, to this day, I think about that. But it was just that sliver of hope. That's all you need, like to go back, to build, to rebuild. So yeah, God dang it, Kelly, get me emotional
Sorry,
again.
man. Sorry.
But her photos really captured, we're using a lot of her photos and what Meredith put together in her videos, so big shout out to Stephanie. Yeah, she captured a lot of that. And but yeah, I think that hit home, it's like that's this environment that was just devastated has been devastated before, and it rebuilds, it regrows, that regrowth. So we just that was a spark, that little fern. But yeah, you
Well,
definitely.
and I mention it too because from a fundraising standpoint, every time a donor would make a gift, it would also uplift our spirit. And at that time when the fire was going on, we were just getting so many contributions from all over the country. And a lot of you here in this audience, I'm sure, first heard about us because of that event, that Dolan Fire, and following Iniko's story and so on. So yeah, just wanted to reminisce about that for a minute.
Yeah, it was a big one. It was part of the heat, part of that kind of getting knocked down, taking your lumps and then saying, okay, now we gotta dust ourselves off and let's just start get to work and get things cracking again. And that's why, if you get to do that, you gotta be surrounded by great people and passionate people, and obviously the crew I get to work with are incredible, get to work with you guys all here on the panel, like everybody lifted each other up. So I can't say enough. I know it helped me, it was tough. And to be at this kind of full circle moment, 5 years later, it's definitely pretty wild. And just to see a Nico out there thriving, knock on wood, obviously, but we're just so excited to see what her next chapter is. I mean, she's coming into adulthood and gonna nest. I mean, we're all gonna be on that journey with her. And we were joking the other day, boy, how cool would it be, that she nests in a redwood, and we get a cam in her nest with her chick. I mean, that would just be incredible. And just to see her raise her own young and, that full circle stuff is good, just pretty awesome. And being a parent myself, you can't help but just get sucked into all of that, you can't help but relate. And now you too, Evan,
Right.
you can't help but relate to that. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, talking about the crew, it takes a village, but boy, these you can't say enough for Darren and Evan. Boy, they stepped up beyond, and you just can't put that in words. But everybody here just recognized these guys.
So, Joe, as the pet carrier was going down that hill there, did you ever see Redwood Queen? Do you know where Redwood Queen was during this episode? It had an
So
impact on
that's
us, but I'm sure it had an impact on her as well.
it's pretty wild you asked that, because she flew didn't she kind of follow us down through the redwoods and high up in the redwoods, I thought? Or maybe
I
I'm
don't,
thinking of another.
yeah, I don't know if it was at this like during this time, like during the Iniko rescue, but there was a time we went to check on Iniko after the fire where that did happen.
That's
Where
right. That's what I'm
yeah,
confusing. When we all first went up.
yeah.
Yeah, she kind of followed us out, like, where, kind of almost like, where's Kingpin? Kind of,
Mm.
we were all like, obviously reading way into it, but but it was really bizarre. She had never done that. And she followed us down as we hiked out, stayed up high, obviously, but she was definitely watching. We were 100% she was following us. And we were trying to understand what was going on, but I think she was as stressed as we were, just what happened, like, where's my mate? What happened? Now I got to raise this chick by myself. And of course, then Ninja shows up. I mean, that was just, we thought, and we didn't know it could get any crazier. The roller, just the emotional roller coaster. And then when he showed up, I mean, but as a biologist, though, I was kind of fascinated by it. I mean, it was obviously I didn't want him to hurt Iniko, but it was an interesting behavior we'd never seen before, where a male is lost in a territory and this younger up and coming male comes in to what appeared like try to claim the territory and push out the females. You see it with other species. I know bears, if they reclaim a territory, reclaim a female, they'll kill her offspring. And like, yeah, it was just really interesting on a scientific level, but also, we obviously didn't want him hurting Nico either after what she'd been through. But that whole part, but then to watch Redwood Queen just step it up and just kick his butt, just booted him out of there. I mean, that was to me unbelievable. Like she was not having any of it, and she battled him all the way on the ground. I mean, we just show a snippet, but that whole thing unfolded over a course of a couple hours. We thought he was going to kill her on the ground. We said, "Oh, he's not done yet. He's going to try to take a Nico out on the ground." And Redwood Queen was not having. I mean, they had huge battles. I remember Redwood Queen and Seven Ninja on the ground, rolling like feathers flying, wings. I didn't know what was going on, and the Nico's like huddled over, just trying to hide, trying to not be noticed. But that whole thing was unbelievable. I know for Darren and Evan, we were all like, "What is this behavior? This is crazy."
Sure. Yeah, it was wild. I remember the day it happened. I think the like phones in the office started ringing off the hook because people were calling in to report it, but yeah, we knew right away. And I think Stephanie took off down the coast to go check on her to see, and she got down there really quickly and was able to report back and said that everything was okay. And Nico was survived and everything, but
I think we saw the
I
limp.
think. Yeah, I think something that like gets missed in the videos is kind of like the duration, it moves quickly through it, but a lot of these things were, we after the fire we went out and found that Nico had survived, and there were a few weeks in between when Ninja came into the nest, so we were going out and monitoring the nest and really making sure Nico was doing okay with a single parent and everything. Um, so yeah, all this stuff just unfolded over some
Yeah, that's a
time.
great point. Just that the videos kind of fast track everything, but yeah, there was a lot of time between each of those little episodes. Yeah, and then even after, yeah, I think we grabbed Iniko pretty quick after we determined she was injured. But
Mhm.
yeah, we definitely consulted with everybody, just made sure we were making the right call. And we didn't know if we could even catch. Sometimes you go to get a bird and they're just not going to let you get near them, and even if they're hurt. So that was the other wild. We said, well, we got to give it a try, and just be ready. And luckily, she cooperated. Like Darren said earlier, boy, she put herself right under the base of the redwood, the actual nest tree, and it kind of formed like a little box. Thank God. And she went in there, and we were able to kind of corner her in. And but she seemed reserved to just be like, I'm good. Take me to Ellie Zoo. I don't want any parts of Ninja. This is you guys look way better than Ninja does, you know. I think she could read our body language. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
was
I don't know if she recognized us, but we did do several like nest monitoring attempts, so we were probably familiar faces to some extent.
yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. She saw us a lot. But yeah, pretty incredible. And yeah, I think this might be your image, Evan, one of your shots. But yeah, the yeah, this was the view when we found her, just kind of sitting there by herself. It's pretty incredible. And then of course, yeah, gotta remember Kingpin. And you know, I was talking the other day. Actually, I was talking to Meredith about it. She was asking about it, and it's pretty interesting how many of how many of our pairs have had to, lose their mates and have to move on. And just another and just incredible trait of the birds that they're able to kind of put stuff behind them and move on and pair up with find another mate. Like 190 Redwood Queen, she paired with Phoenix, and then right after this, and then she lost him, and now she is with 650. So Zenith, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just cool to see how resilient these females are, how boy they're tough. They got a lot of grit to be able to do that. And they just, like we were talking about that, they provide a lot of inspiration. It's kind of indirect, but it's to me very inspirational when you see these birds pick up and the parallels with what we were going through with having to rebuild our entire site. Um, you know, the birds were kind of showing us the way. Like, hey, this is what you got to do. You got to pick yourself up and keep moving ahead. So anyway, big shout out to all these awesome, incredible birds we have. They're so resilient, so amazing. Yeah, and this is yeah, just in memory of those birds that were lost that night. It was a heartbreaker for sure, but they weren't forgotten. We definitely used them as inspiration to, and they all contributed to the flock in the time they had. So I think all the birds have benefited from the time they had with the flock. And back on the rebuild front, we also have this one's a little shorter. We have another video, and again, it kind of captures full circle of what happened and how the actual rebuild. We took a lot of footage during the rebuild, and Meredith strung it together in a nice little video here. So I'll share another video for everyone to watch. Another awesome Meredith production here. Wow, that was cool. Yeah, it's amazing how much you can combine all that work into one little 2 minute slide.
How easy it was?
Yeah, it was that quick. Wow. Why'd it take you guys so long? Yeah. Boy, but yeah, that was a big time team effort. Yeah, I love the footage of Josh Wilson and his crew that came up. The contractors came up to help us. Madrone, of course, Blacktail Engineering helped us with the water tanks, and they all chipped in a little bit and offered whatever extra help they could. And um, yeah, just amazing. Just yeah, we just had to keep our noses to the grindstone and get her done. And I think the coolest part was we got the release pen done pretty quick. After we got through the cleanup process, and I mean that cleanup process was a huge deal. And then getting through that, and then finally getting the go ahead to start construction. I mean, that's what we were just chomping on the bit, waiting to go. And of course, the first thing we wanted to make sure was there was that release pen because it's so important to the management of the birds and um, for everything we do as biologists. It's kind of our, it's kind of the what do you call it, Grand Central Station for bringing these birds in when we need to help them, whether they're sick or if we got to change a transmitter or check their blood for lead or give them an HPI vaccination. Yeah, so it's such an important tool. So that was what the priority was. And while we were doing that, we went back to the old school field living of living and staying in tents, and we got a little trailer and, just kind of, you know, put that as the priority. And we knew the rebuild of the cabin was going to take a little more time through the permitting process. And Kelly was working us through that, getting all of the architecture approved. And, that was a lot of behind the scenes work that, it's the non-glamorous side of a lot of this stuff. So big shout out to Kelly for covering all that and just getting this stuff pushed through. It took a little longer, and we were told it was going to take a little longer than we thought in terms of rebuilding the cabin. But fortunately, we got that release pin done in 2023, and we started firing all cylinders. Over the last year and a half, it's been pretty awesome. 2 years and perfect timing with the issue of HPI coming up. Having that pin was so critical. So yeah, and the crew was there every step of the way helping with, I remember Jared and Evan, when we were finishing up the flight pen, trying to figure out how to get those panels in. I remember it was a little treacherous. It was like, I don't know how, this ladder seems steady.
It's absolutely
But
right. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to just see everything all together and knowing the effort that it takes to get every last bit of material up there is, it takes several hours to get
yeah,
that stuff up there. And I just, yeah, remember it makes it a slower process and everything, but just incredible how everything turned out.
yeah. And now we have a cam on this pen, which is really great. And yeah, and there are little silver linings. Like anytime you get to rebuild or release pen, it's always nice because you can adapt to the changing management and incorporate some different design concepts that kind of help the birds more, make things more efficient for the biologist and also easier on the birds. So that anytime, you have something bad like this happen, it's also a time to also rethink how we're doing things and um, look at how we designed it and try to come up with something different. And like for this one, we're like, for one, let's make it as fireproof as possible. So we went full metal on the flight pen. It's a trade-off. It's a little less forgiving with the birds, but luckily condors are pretty darn tough, and it's been working great so far. And then everything cabin, this facility, we went, full metal siding, just as fireproof as possible. I mean, the measures we went to on the cabin are pretty incredible. And yeah, we're hoping it. Yeah, but Mother Nature's a beast. If she really wants to, rage inferno, nothing's gonna survive. But we're feeling pretty good about these facilities. And again, that was in thanks to the successful fundraising campaign that happened. I mean, wouldn't have been possible to build these this well without those extra funds. It gave us that flexibility to kind of to add these extra fire protection measures and use materials that might cost a little more, but they're going to last you a lot longer. So it's that was really huge. So that's kind of some of the benefits of when you have a really successful, obviously when you have a really successful fundraiser like that. And yeah, and I mean, I feel like we're at another crossroads when you say, Kelly, with our losing the federal funding.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, first off, thanks to many of the people on this call and many of our donors for allowing us to do that rebuild. I mean, we're a charitable nonprofit organization and rely on donations. And boy, when we needed help, you all came to our aid, and we felt it every day. It lifted our spirits, and it really made a huge difference. I mean, take a look at these beautiful facilities, which hopefully will last us for decades and decades to come. And just like we, worked hard to restore the bald eagle to Central California, and that led to California condors, well, maybe there's another species coming up next. Apologies
sure.
for the airplane in the background there.
I know we were. Sorry about that.
Probably didn't hear a word
Our
I said.
office is near an airport.
But anyway, yeah, I think we're almost to the 5 o'clock mark. So I think many of you wanted to hear an update from Save the Condor Fund. So yeah, thank you, Joe. Let's go ahead and jump to that. And please do, if you haven't had a chance yet, go watch that full video that Joe narrated and Meredith created, commemorating the Dolan Fire anniversary. It's really worth the watch. 17 minutes and all, especially the outtakes at the end. So I wanted to first start off by sharing with you. Now, keep in mind, this is just the Ventana Wildlife Society portion of the Condor Recovery Program. We have many partners. We have many zoos that are producing condors in captivity, and other partners that are releasing and managing condors to the wild. For example, the Yurok tribe most recently in Northern California. Pinnacles National Park collaborates with us here in Central California. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has been releasing condors in Southern California for even a few years longer than we have. And Peregrine Fund out in Arizona since, I believe, 1996 or so, something like that. So there's a lot of partners involved. I'm just talking about Ventana Wildlife Society when I show you these numbers. And this is just the Condor program. This is not the entire organization. But this year, before federal funding changes, we were seeing about 39% of our funding come from government, and most of that's from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then corporations are another 23%, individuals 20%. So really, those three are the three biggest legs of that stool for sure. And then, of course, you have foundations and zoos. I want to give a shout out to the Oakland Zoo and most recently the Central Coast Zoo in Atascadero is pitched in. And then we also have in-kind. And I want to focus in on that in-kind here for a second. That's the volunteer interns. And I know many of you are here listening today. I wanted you to know that not only are you recognized every day for your contributions, but there's also a dollar value. There's also a real contribution that we can record on the budget. So thank you so much for enabling that as well. But that's the slightly over $1 million budget that the Ventana Wildlife Society has been able to manage for this year. Now, of course, the big concern is the federal funding. Yeah, thanks, Joe. I wasn't quite ready because that 39%, mostly coming from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, was announced back in May that it would not renew. And so that's why we launched and announced the Save the Condor Fund campaign back in May. And the idea was we were going to try to raise the amount of money that we're expected to lose, to try to get ahead of it so that we could plan ahead more effectively. And many of you have been responding to that, and I want to thank you. And I'll get into a little bit more of that here in a second. But that's the big concern, is that big drop 39% of the Condor program budget. But at least we have some time to plan ahead. And I also just want to take a minute to mention that, when we got involved with this almost 30 years ago, we knew that we were being asked to help because we can bring private funding, private support to the table. We knew that. And we did that for maybe 20 years or more without any federal support whatsoever. And then I guess it was more like 7 years ago, and then the last 5 years especially, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has provided a tremendous amount of support. And I want everyone who works for the agency to know just how much we appreciate that. And the fact that this is now changing in no way reflects the staff or the people who make this happen for us. And we know you didn't have anything to do with this. It's just a change in federal priority. And we're all going to see, I think, a greater reliance on the private sector. I think that's what everyone is basically forced to do. And, thankfully, we have a lot of people such as yourselves that care deeply about what we do, and you've been stepping up to help. We asked that you contribute 25% more than you did last year. Many of you are doing that. We've seen a $180,000 increase over last year just from individuals. So thank you so much. You're really making a big difference here. We're also working incredibly hard to raise more funding from corporations and foundations. And it seems like these days I'm doing almost nothing but fundraising. And thanks, Joe. So then if we take a closer look at how we spend that $1 million, of course, half of it is salaries, which is what you would normally expect. In fact, you would see that much higher in many, many budgets. But we're lean and mean. We've got grit. In addition to salaries and benefits, we've got contract services. That's funding mostly the work that we're doing to develop Cape Coast Central and other really critical contract service work. For example, Evan here in the GIS and other critical functions such as that. So then next slide. We are doing quite well. If we take a look at contributions from the same donors last year compared to this year, as well as the new corporate support we've received, we are at $290,000, which is 70% of that initial goal, this first year goal for 2025. So I really feel like it's attainable. And those of you that have stepped up and helped, I just thank you so much. I know you're thinking about us both in the short term, and many of you are also thinking about us in the long term. And that's also greatly appreciated. If you ever want to come talk to me more about how to give or what's, where the need is greatest or anything, just please reach out and I'm available to speak with you about this at any time. Let's see, we've got some other prospects in the works. We're working on a grant with California Department of Fish and Wildlife to scale up our non-lead program, and it's been in review for a long time, but it still has a very good shot of being funded. So it'd be great to see the state get increasingly involved in this issue as well. So I think overall, we're managing. Like I said, I mentioned the word grit earlier. I love to use that word. And it's really perfect in this case because this is the work that's actually taking place. These are the recovery actions that your donations go toward. And of course, it starts with captive releases, working with our zoo partners to get young birds out for release. But that's just the beginning. Then there's all kinds of work that's needed after that. And a ton of it is really focused on non-lead outreach right now. We know that's the number one threat. We know it's preventable, and we have solutions. We are managing California's only free non-lead ammunition program, and we're super excited to scale that up even more. Of course, you still need to keep tracking nests and medical treatment and GPS transmitters and so on. And so you take all these recovery actions together. They're really all critical. They all fit together. We use the GPS information, for example, to inform where we conduct outreach for non-lead ammunition. We use GPS to help us figure out where the nests are. And there's so many different ways that these recovery actions all work together and in synergy. So anyway, Thank you if you've already given. If you haven't already, I know it's tough. I know a lot of nonprofits are asking for help. A lot of charities that did receive federal funding are experiencing this rapid change in their budget. If we're one of your favorites, please help us. And if you can, give a little more, 25% more. It'll really go a long way. And we stated a goal of 150 new donors. We've already received 73 new donors. So, helping us get the word out and sharing with friends and family that we're here, that we're doing good work, and that we need help is also greatly appreciated. And just want to end with a few thank yous. The Doris Day and Terry Meltzer Foundation are incredibly supportive, especially the last few years. Pacific Gas and Electric Company as well. Wendy P. McCaw Foundation, our zoo partners, Oakland Zoo, Atascadero Zoo, and all of the individual donors, the 1,000 individual donors, such as yourself, that make all this work. So thank you so much.
Awesome, Kelly. Yeah, thanks for recapping that.
There's probably time for questions if folks are still interested.
Gone a little bit over, but I think that it was a 5-year anniversary special, so specials always go over.
Yeah. Well, lots of questions, and I know we're up against it, but Sarah in Los Angeles makes the salient point here that this is a Condor chat, and we haven't heard from the Condors themselves. Can we actually hear what a Condor sounds like? Joe, Darren, or even Evan, can you provide any demonstrations, maybe?
Go for it, Darren.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
you're it.
condors, most of the sounds we hear from condors are very, at least the way that I hear them, they sound like hisses and grunts. So it's a lot to demonstrate. It is kind of like, when we're trying to like go and net a condor, they might give us like a like kind of a hiss like that, or just
That's
kind of,
pretty good.
yeah, I go, yep, I hear them a lot. But
Yeah, they
but
do this guttural grunt, and it's hard
yeah.
to describe. I don't think it's not you can't really generate it with a voice, but it's internal, and they do it whenever they Eurohydrate on their legs, or it's a but when you hear it, you'll never forget it. It's the classic condor sound, but it kind of rolls through them,
Mhm.
and
It's
you can't help but almost start laughing when you see her. Like, did that bird just do that? What is going on here?
I think we definitely need to make an effort to get some like narrative quality audio,
Yes.
so
yeah.
we can share it with it. There's no impersonation that will really hit the mark. So
Yeah, it's very reptilian though. I
objective,
think
I think for narrative.
Yeah, Meredith could know, but the sounds I would categorize them as very like Darren did the hiss and the grunt. They're very like reptilian in a way, like something you'd hear from a snake or a lizard or something. It's really bizarre. Like when you see it, it's not what you typically associate with birds.
I like how Christy in the chat described it. She says there's a huff when they contract their diaphragm, and I think that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I see that in nests. The pair come up and go. "Hmm." They just do this quick little, but that's different than the guttural digestive thing. The FERP, whatever you want to call it, the
Yeah,
burp.
yeah.
The
Well, I just wish everyone here could smell a condor. It's very unique.
yes, very musky, very musky. What am I thinking of? Yeah, it's a musky
So
sound.
what I'm hearing is that the beauty of a condor is not in their voice, it's in their essence and
Yes,
just sort of their iconic beauty. Many people tell me that the further away they are, the more beautiful they are, but I think a lot of viewers here will maybe tell us the exact opposite, where they really
I
show their individual personalities, and you can just see their character and essence, even in those photographs that we see. Joe and crew, I appreciate another great update. Kelly, thank you for the update on the Save the Condor Fund. Check out our website there on the screen for information on donating. And then do we have a date picked out for our next Condor Chat?
Yes, we do. Next Condor Chat, September 25th, 4 p.m. PST. Be there. Yeah, this was a great chat and really awesome, Evan, for you for joining us. Always good to see your face. Good to talk to you again and reminisce
Yeah,
about those.
absolutely. It's
about
great
those-
to be here and see you guys and yeah, just go through all the revisit those emotions of like crazy time.
But yeah, you were a
Hey,
pillar through it all, so thank you, buddy. And yeah, we miss you up out here. Hope things
Thanks.
are well back there in West Virginia.
Yeah, everything's going good. It's great to see you.
All right, everyone. On that note, we'll end it with one of Tim's spectacular flight shots. I feel bad. He had so many shots, and I have trouble picking they're all so awesome. So thank you, Tim. I tried to squeeze in as many as I could. But yeah, we're gonna get more Tim shots in next one. So tune in the next chat. And thank you everyone for joining, and thank you for the ongoing support. I think we can get there with the Save the Condors Fund. Any final words, Kelly?
No, just great job. Great job, everyone. Thank you for being here, and hope to see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.